Welcome back to another episode of Locks and Longshots. We had an eventful week of college football, to say the least, with some very impactful upsets, a couple of tight finishes. But the boys are back here on what is a pretty somber Sunday evening. We got Justin Chevalella, Dylan Price, Josh Bartosik. I'm Thomas English. We got some good football on the horizon this week as we get closer to the midway point of the season. But first, gentlemen, how are we recovering from what I guess you could call Penn State football? And have you been able to process what the hell happened this week in college football?
Horrifically in terms of processing, because it feels like it's just punch after punch after punch right now. You go from Penn State losing to Oregon, Penn State losing to UCLA, the Yankees losing to Toronto yesterday, the Giants losing to New Orleans today, the Yankees losing to Toronto again today. Been one of the worst sports weekends I can remember in recent time for me. That's why I got the Islanders on tonight. They start up this week, and I'm hoping they provide a little happiness. Even if it's short-term happiness, it's better than nothing. And have I been able to process what happened? Yeah, pretty simply, it's the exact same crap that happens every time. How's everyone else?
I kind of ditto to Justin. I said this to somebody about an hour ago. This has been the worst sports weekend of my whole life. I watched a team that not only did I double down on rooting for the Jets by placing a bet on them, they were my survivor pick this week. I felt that good about them. I felt like it was World Series or bust, and just when the Yankees gave me hope, they took it away up north. And then, we had to watch whatever the hell that abomination was in Pasadena on Saturday, and I not recovered from it, but we're going to get into that. So I'll save the words in the air on that. Otherwise, it's another weekend. That's really it. It's a sad weekend.
I mean, I don't know about you guys. I was watching the only Penn State team that matters, Penn State hockey. They at least did their job like they were supposed to do. Gavin McKenna.
Were you doing it while listening to like the new Taylor Swift album? That feels like it'd be right up your alley.
Dude, yeah, at the same time. It was a great thing. And then Saturday ruined that. The Steelers could not, they almost lost to the bye week, but they didn't. Aaron Rodgers went another retreat. So I'm having an okay sports week. It's not even like, I mean, we'll get into it later, but I'm not even really fazed by the Penn State loss.
I actually think it's numb.
I think I was laughing when it happened, and I think actually it might be one of the best things to happen to this program in the long run. But at the moment, this is probably the worst 2-week stretch of Penn State football in a long time.
I think for me it was genuinely.
Wait, no one asked you. I got to ask you,
Thomas.
Thomas, now, Thomas, you were a little distracted this weekend, so it feels like maybe you might have had the best weekend of all of us.
Well, I was going to say.
And the Cubs got eliminated during the week, so it's fine. No, they're still going.
No,
Never mind. I'm joking.
I was going to say.
I'm keeping you on your toes here.
Listen, it only took them 3 innings to give up 9 runs, so I don't feel good about the rest of the series. But, I mean, hey, the Bears, I think, beat the bye week. I don't know. Possibly they could have lost.
You didn't know it was a bye week.
You didn't know.
I know.
Yeah, that is true.
I did read my phone incorrectly.
We can tape anytime.
I read my phone incorrectly. It did say Monday. I thought it was this Monday. It was not this Monday. My fault. Right hand up. My bad. But I will say, definitely distracted and kind of helped the pain of Penn State football. Moving into a new apartment place here. Pretty good, but I think I had the best week out of everyone because at least my teams didn't lose too bad, I guess. I don't know. I only had 2 teams lose, so
just wait for tomorrow night or next week.
Yeah, I
mean, don't play tomorrow night. They play tomorrow.
It'll be a different story 1 week from today. I can almost guarantee. Right. But with that, we'll give a quick recap of what was a crazy week, really, in college football. All of us suck at picking Big Ten football games. We all picked Maryland, and they lost. I believe it was a 17-point comeback for Washington in that game. We did, however, pick Ohio State correctly. Not really surprised that we all did that. Texas, big loss to Florida. Shout out to Justin. DJ Lagway.
I stood on the island by myself.
Yeah. Shout out to Justin with that one. He got that one correct.
By the way, 2 straight weeks I've been on the island and gotten it right.
There you go.
Oregon and now Florida.
Got to give him some credit. Give him some credit where credit is due. Iowa State, in what seemed like a trap game, ended up being a trap game. A shootout there, 38-30 final. Cincinnati came out hot and didn't look back in that one. We all got that one wrong. Notre Dame with another nice win. Boise State Obviously not as good as people had anticipated coming into the year, but a nice win for Notre Dame. We all got that one. Maybe the best game of the week as far as how close it was. Virginia and Louisville ended up being a really good game for those who were watching that ACC matchup. Dylan and Grant correctly predicted Virginia. But again, really good game, really good matchup. Texas Tech continues to look legit against a Houston team that was undefeated. They played really well. Dylan didn't quite get Mississippi State right, but Texas A&M, they look like a juggernaut as well. Shout out the state of Texas other than Texas. They've been looking pretty good in college football. Miami and Florida State, I think a closer game than some people thought it was going to be. I know I thought it was going to be at least a 2-score game. Miami does win, and Dylan does not correctly pick Florida State. I do want to shout out Dylan because
pick a lot correctly.
Listen. As we get to our last game, I want to shout out Dylan here because Dylan did pick Vanderbilt. Bama ended up getting a big win, but I want to shout out Dylan because at least he's taken some chances here. I mean, he's got it. You took Florida, but Dylan took like 5 underdogs.
We made a lot of fun of Chevy last year for doing this exact same thing.
I'm sorry. At least I'm interested in the ratings. If we just do chalk every week, nobody's gonna watch. All right. At least somebody's got to provide the entertainment.
This is Pat McAfee. This is Pat McAfee here, where he's picked every home team for game day since Lee left. That's what Dylan's doing. It's the entertainment value.
I got it. So overall, Dylan goes 4 for 10 on the week. That was the low mark. I think that might be the lowest we've ever had.
No, I had a 2 out of 10 last. I had a 2 out of 10 last year because I picked fully against you guys.
Okay, 2 out of 10. Josh and I were 6 out of 10, and Justin and Grant 7 out of 10. So really a decent week for the rest of us. But got to shout out Dylan for taking some of the underdogs. So with that being said, we will do our 1-minute headlines here. I think we all kind of have a similar headline.
Wait, can you recap the games we picked? Can you put in the game we didn't, so at least it's teed up for us?
I was trying to avoid it and let you guys rant about it. But as you know, Penn State unfortunately did lose to Nico Iamaleava and UCLA. Bad loss, high-scoring loss. Yeah, and we're going to dive pretty much right into that. Justin, you got a minute, maybe a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. Who knows? But go ahead.
I have 2 headlines again. I want to focus on one, but I'm going to give you the other first. The first one is if you can go. And I kind of mentioned that earlier in the podcast about, these NFL prospects that had the chance to go and, didn't, and now their draft stock is falling. It continues to happen, specifically with Penn State as we watch them. That's not the one I want to focus on. My new headline, I actually had 3. One is that college football never ceases to amaze. This was supposed to be a boring week, and we got a great week or a bad week, depending on how you think about it. My actual headline that I want to focus on is if a team isn't really going out of their way to keep a coordinator or a coach, there's probably a reason behind that. Clemson and Penn State and really Notre Dame, too, a little bit, have gotten the short end of the stick, and it's this little triangle, of course, always coming back to Penn State. There's other teams to talk about, too, but I think about the 3 biggest examples, starting with Notre Dame and how Jaywan Sider handled the running backs early in the season. They've started to get going a little bit in the recent goings for Notre Dame, but Penn State really didn't fight to keep him, right? Tom Allen, Penn State didn't fight to keep him. After really rather lackluster performance last year in his lone year in Happy Valley, they didn't fight to keep him. Clemson is facing the effects right now. And Jim Knowles, probably the most interesting case of all. Ohio State kicked him out the door, basically. And I know they say that Ryan Day called him back trying. I don't believe it. They didn't let the guy go to the championship celebration. They were ready for Jim Knowles to leave. It came out a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago that it seems like Ryan Day really started to call the defense after their loss to Oregon and all that crap. Clearly, if teams are not fighting to keep certain coaches, you probably don't want those coaches. There's reason behind it, and it keeps coming out each and every week. And there's plenty of more around the country that we could point to, but these are the 3 that resonate the most with me. And I think it's clear that this year, when all the coordinators are changing again, when head coaches are changing again, if teams are letting them walk out the door, then stay the heck away from them.
Dylan?
I think sometimes we get so caught up in what we think things are going to be that we're afraid to face what the reality actually is. And I think for a lot of the teams that we have talked highly about, that maybe came out of left field, I think it's time that we are entering into the 7th week of the season. I think it's time that we acknowledge the fact that they've stuck around, they've overcome, and they are here to stay. And wherever you had them ranked, maybe unranked prior to the season, it doesn't matter at this point. There are a lot of teams that legitimize themselves this week. I look to UVA, a team that I was on an island alongside Grant because we didn't think, and I agreed with you guys to an extent, that they were going to substantiate after that win. Let's go to Miami. Miami is the biggest example that people thought they'd be good, not great, not elite. And they, at this point, they got my first place vote today. To tip my head a little bit, they have proven more than, and that's not to say Ohio State hasn't proven it. They've got a track coming up in the matchup this weekend where they can start to add to that resume. But when it comes to Miami, a team that I don't know if anybody would have called the best team in the country by week 7 heading into the preseason. And then on the other side of things, all offseason, it was the tier 1 is Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Clemson. Maybe you throw Notre Dame in there. Notre Dame lost 2 games to start the season and are clawing their way back into the top 15. And Penn State and Clemson are out of the top 25 and are firmly out of the top 25 at this point. And when it comes to Penn State, your biggest win on the resume right now in terms of resume is Nevada. Clemson, you could argue that their biggest win might have come this weekend against North Carolina. And I know that sounds like we're kind of at the point here where we're beating a dead horse because I know we're going to even beat it further with Penn State. But I think sometimes we get caught up in what we expected these teams to be. So we shield ourselves and we don't accept the reality of, oh, shit, that team might be legit. And when it comes to a team like Penn State and comes to a team like Clemson, sometimes we go into the season with these preconceived notions, what we think they're going to be. Then now we need to accept we're heading into week 7. You can make magic happen. Clemson went on a run and ran the table last year and found themselves in the college football playoff. But more than likely, Clemson, Penn State, they might miss the playoff entirely. And we were talking about a potential national championship matchup. So on both ends of the spectrum, I think sometimes we need to realize it's October now. What we talked about in June, July, August does not apply anymore. We have actual football to talk about, actual tangible things to grade and rate and make assumptions about. And I think we, on both ends of the spectrum, need to stop being so caught up in what we thought things were going to be.
I think one team I'd love to add to that, Texas. You kind of glanced over them, but they're in the same boat as Clemson and Penn State. I mean, Penn State and Texas were 1 and 2 in the AP, and you're 100% right.
Josh?
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be kind of my point, is that I think this year more than ever, we've kind of found ourselves in a position where we are clearly finding that there's no longer a full-on need for the AP poll. I think that there's always been a lot of, discussion about it here and here out, week in, week out, about certain voters, whatever. But when was the last time? Actually, number one, there has never been a time where you had the preseason number 1 be out of the top 25 entirely 4 weeks into the season. Texas did something unprecedented. Penn State also did something unprecedented, being the number 2 team to fall out in 5 weeks as well. I mean, these are unprecedented things. And again, you can, even with Notre Dame, you can go back to them. They were a top 10 team to start the year, lost 2 games. You have other teams, Florida, a team that was in the top 25 to start the year. I think that, again, it goes back to the expectations that you were talking about, Dylan, that I think that you really can't be ranking these teams until 2 or 3 weeks. And at that point, you might as well just go with the CFP rankings, because the AP voters clearly don't know what they're talking about. Even after games have been played, they don't know what they're talking about. We don't know what we're talking about. We all expected Clemson and Penn State to, be 2 of the best teams. And, well, everyone except for Chevy thought that Arch Manning was going to be able to be a guy that could really lead Texas to a national championship. And I remember back, I thought South Carolina was going to be a dark horse in the SEC. They've been terrible. Someone here probably thought Florida was going to be good. They've been awful, and we don't know anything. And I do think that just the need for the AP poll has just completely been thrown out the window when your 2 top teams that had the closest margin of number 1 versus number 2 are both out of the top 25, not even halfway through the season.
Yeah, I want to further expand upon that just very briefly. I think I wouldn't say there's necessarily not a need for it, but the preseason through, I know we're week 7 coming up. The preseason through the first 4 or 5 weeks don't matter. Like, they will not show you anything. And that perfectly leads into my point. I want to further expand on my headline from last week. Like, the tiers are starting to form. I think the tiers have formed of at this point, which teams are going to be contenders and which teams are just on the outside looking in. I think for me, and this kind of tips our hand for our top 25 poll, kind of works its way in, but our top 6 has not changed. And I think that top 6 is your tier 1. I think that is that solidified. I think that will be it the rest of the year. For me, that's what it is. Ohio State, Miami, Oregon, Oklahoma, you could substitute for Indiana because of the quarterback situation. But Texas A&M and Ole Miss, I believe. Those are the teams. If you want to throw Alabama in, you can substitute Oklahoma because of the quarterback situation. But for me, those are the teams that are tier 1 right now, and I don't really think there's much argument for it. I think you kind of have a clear cut between tier 1 and tier 2, whereas last week, I mean, even this, coming into this week, I would have said, I feel like there's 10 or 11 teams that you can consider in tier 1. I think that's cut in half. I think you really have seen with Penn State and with Texas and those losses, and you're talking about the Clemsons of the world. You have seen the tiers start to form in the first few weeks, but because in this works perfectly with Josh's point, because the AP tells you that it's a top 10 team, you expect it to be a top 10 team. But you don't expect that when it comes to the midway point of the season, now that you have a good chunk of film to watch, a good chunk of resumes to look at, you can see the tiers form, and the tiers have formed at this point for me. I don't know if you guys are still going back and forth, but I think everything is starting to figure itself out. I think which teams are going to be in the conference championships at this point, or at least one or two of the teams that are going to be in it. And at this point, college football playoff is starting to become very clear for me. I mean, I would feel confident to say I can predict over half of the field right now going into it. So I think for me, the tiers have formed, just to expand on my point from last week. And that works perfectly into looking at our top 25 poll for this week.
Quickly,
as I said,
go ahead. Stat. I've got the statistics to back up the conversation. 8 of the preseason top 25 are out of the AP poll as of today. Yeah. And those
insane.
aren't, numbers 21 through 25 that are out of the AP poll. Those are 3 of the top 4 are out. Clemson was number 4.
Yeah. I mean, you saw it last week. 3 of the top 5 teams lost. Then this week, you have, more top-ranked teams lose. I think Josh said it perfectly with the preseason poll and really the polls up until the midway point. They don't mean as much as you think they do. And they tell you to think things, and this goes to Dylan's point even, and then back to Justin's point. Like, the AP poll tells you things, and you shouldn't believe it the
AP poll is kind of like a template, but
right.
You've got to put your own spin on it. This is what the expectation is, but it's not going to be what the final thing is. And I think too many people take it as, oh my God, the AP said these teams are in, they've got to be in. Templates can change. Go up to your professor's desk. Hey, I want to add an extra paragraph to my essay because it really helps my argument. Your professor's probably not going to say no. All right. So I'm going up to the AP poll, the desk, and I'm saying, I want to drop these teams out, Penn State and Texas this week, because they haven't beaten, good opponents. And there's stronger cases to be made. There's no reason to say no to that. And I think too many people are almost too scared to make those changes.
I think a great point, Dylan, just really quickly. I think a great point, too, is that when you look at it, people schedule differently. Some people like an easier schedule in the front. Some people like a heavier schedule in the front.
And they regret that easy schedule.
Right. So I think the preseason poll and really up until midway point doesn't mean much because of the way scheduling is and everything like that.
To Josh's point, though, about the poll, why it really has kind of been negated is that there are so much of, to go back to my initial point of, being so caught up in what we thought a team was going to be and not recognizing what it is. A lot of it's ego driven. I mean, let's be real. None of the 4 of us want to be wrong on our initial conference championship predictions or our playoff predictions, but at least all of us have gotten one of the Power 4 wrong, if not in all likelihood, multiple.
I picked Clemson.
Yeah. So in all likelihood, we're already wrong, and it's not even halfway through October. We're through the first week of October. So, and it's not just us, it's the AP voters. And that's really what the biggest thing is. And there are legitimate cases you can make to leave Texas, Penn State, Florida State, Clemson, well, not Clemson, but Texas, Florida State, Penn State in. You can make those cases to continue to have them in the top 25. And I get it. You could put them in the back end and say, if they go toe-to-toe with Cincinnati, you're right. I'm probably taking any of those three teams I just said. And that's maybe I'd be proven wrong, but I'd rather see it happen. And I'd rather put the stock in the Power 4 team. But that's part of the fun of the AP poll is it's not all Power 4 teams. But so much of these voters, so much of the media narrative is that people don't want to be wrong. They can't get over being wrong. I'm freaking 19 and 21. I'm willing to get wrong every week, but if my point makes a semblance of sense, and more often than not, I'd like to think it does, and my head's not completely up my ass when it comes to college football, admit you're wrong every once in a while. Seriously, it's not that hard to do, and that applies to a lot of things within the college football media landscape.
I think
applies to some coaches too.
Yeah,
but
I think it'll be interesting next week if you ask us, and maybe we do it on our episode next week. Let's go back through, look at our conference championship picks, and redo it. Like at this point, I guarantee you, half of our picks would completely change. So
we'll add another 45 minutes to the already hour and a half long show.
But with that, so we've been talking about the AP poll. Let's look at our poll because that's our opinion. And here's our week 7. I do want to say our number 1 and number 2, I believe Dylan and I had Miami as number 1. Mm-hmm. And Justin and Josh had Ohio State as number 1. So technically they are tied for the top spot. But we have them at 1 and 2 right now in the same order they were last week. Oregon is there. Oklahoma is there. Ole Miss, Texas A&M. Then you have Alabama jumping Indiana. You have Texas Tech and Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, kind of the same there. Missouri, Georgia Tech, Michigan, Notre Dame, Illinois, all pretty much the same there. BYU and Virginia move up. Vanderbilt falls. Arizona State, I believe, stayed the same. You see Memphis in there as well, 6-0 now this season. Iowa State at 23 after their loss, and right behind them, Cincinnati. And then you have USF back inside the top 25. So quickly, for me, I'll just start my thing off. I think it's, like I said before, the thing that stands out is our top 6 didn't change. I think that's going to stay for at least the next few weeks. I think, obviously there's a big game in Eugene this weekend that if, it goes one way, that could change. But I think right now the top 10 is pretty good. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't see any glaring issues with our top 25. So I'll turn it over to Justin with what kind of sticks out for you.
Yeah, I'm counting, and I know haven't taken a math class since high school, but we have fallen into the trap, and it's not really a trap, but look at the disparity from conference to conference. The SEC, I believe I counted 9 teams, 8 or 9 on here. I already forgot if someone wants to double check and count, compared to 5 for the Big Ten, right? And I know it's not that different, but, in terms of, once you're out of the playoff picture, but look at how many of those teams sit in our top 12, which would be the college football playoff picture, except you'd have to throw in a group of 5. So really you'd knock Tennessee from there. You guys get what I'm saying here. Yeah. What I'm saying is the SEC is this year so far the best conference in college football. And I think nobody can argue with the depth of the SEC, right? The depth of that conference has always been better. A game between 2, 3, and 3 teams in the SEC is always going to be more interesting than a game between, I think this week was a great example of it. Watching Penn State UCLA on CBS at 3:30, that was a game that used to be the game of the week in the SEC, and now they just slot that over Vandy and Bama doing battle on ESPN at that time slot. The SEC, it's got more talent from top to bottom. That being said, the question would be, can Ohio State, can Oregon, can Indiana keep up with these guys and try to fight them off the neutral playing fields in the college football playoff and potentially make the Big Ten, win a 3rd straight championship? But that's what I'm noticing when I take a look at these numbers or these polls, the disparities between conferences. The ACC, Miami, Georgia Tech, Virginia, they've got 3, right? And these are the big conferences. And then we've got Texas Tech and Iowa State, Arizona State, and Cincinnati all represent. Oh, and BYU. That's 5 teams from the Big 12, which is the same as the Big 10, right? That's not supposed to happen. So I think just when you look at the conference battles and see how we see it in a very similar light as the AP. Now, I have to do some fun little questioning because I was questioned by a certain member of this podcast a couple of weeks ago. Dylan, I looked through your poll, and I'm not getting mad at you. I'm not going to get angry. I just want to know the logic behind leaving Penn State and Texas in.
So for those that, again, don't know, because we don't share that side of it, Texas was my 22nd team in the country. Penn State was my 23rd team in the country. I did not have Cincinnati and USF in my top 25, and that's essentially where the change was. I had Texas and Penn State in, and then I had them above a few of the other teams in the bottom of the pack. First and foremost, I still continue to stand by. I think Josh made the point last week, and I hate that I've already agreed with him twice in the span. It's making my skin crawl.
For the program.
It's a top 20. To me, the top 20 are the teams that legitimately have a shot to make the college football playoff. I don't even think the group of the non-Power 4 representatives on our list. I don't think USF, I don't think Memphis are that team, even though I'm pretty high on Memphis. I've consistently, I think, had them high up on my rankings. But my perspective on it, even though they're at 24 on my rankings this week, but my perspective on it is still one, UNLV is going to be that non-Power 4. I'm putting all my stock in that team. I have since day one. And then the second thing is that if we were to, and I know games aren't played on hypotheticals, we should grade out resumes. If we were to put Texas toe-to-toe with Memphis, they win by 2 scores, maybe 3. I feel the exact same way about Penn State. I feel the same way about Florida State. I think it's a game against Clemson. The talent disparity, to me, is still there. I think you can look at what both of those teams have done in the last Texas and Penn State to be more focused on it here. You can look at what they've done. They sure as hell haven't proven that, but we all know the talent that they have. We all know the fact that Penn State's loss to Oregon was still a quality loss. Texas's loss to Ohio State, still a quality loss. They lost in Gainesville. Penn State lost on the road in UCLA. The second one that I just said is inexcusable, but I don't think it should have completely knocked them out of the top 25. So to me, it was kind of throwing a cookie to the fact of they're both going to be back in the top 25 at the end of the year, unless all hell completely breaks loose, which is possible for one of the programs, not for Sark's program. But that's really my head at it. I am imagining these two teams play on a neutral field. Penn State, Texas, they probably beat every team that's not 17 and beyond, in my opinion.
I know, but Dylan, the problem that I have with that is, again, like that's what a power rating is for, not like a top 25 ranking. And you have to, especially at this stage, we were just talking about it. It was Thomas's point that the tiers are really being, they're solidified now. You can't grade and you can't keep a team in the rankings because, they have all this talent. They should be better. Penn State and Texas, we are basically half of the season. It's about to be mid-October next week, and neither one of those teams is being a Power 4 team. That is completely unacceptable for any team.
I'm keeping my rankings consistent. I'm not going to sit here and flip.
That's fine.
I had Notre Dame still in the top 25, and they were a losing team. So I'm not going to sit here. If we're going to do the rankings, we're going to do it the way I would do the AP poll. I'm going to keep my rankings consistent with how I've done them in previous weeks. And so for me, that's still Texas and Penn State. And again, I don't think we could sit here and say, okay, maybe Memphis, USF. I don't think those are better teams than Penn State. Do I like Memphis? Yeah, I'm all in on Memphis. I think they could be the non-Power 4 representative, but their win against an Arkansas program that's with Bobby Petrino as their head coach again isn't moving the needle that much more than and I hate saying it because it makes my skin crawl because I hate when other people say it, a quality loss against Oregon, a quality loss by 7 in Columbus against the number 1 team in the country. And they still won the game.
I think at some point you have to give credit to a 6-0 team versus a team that lost on the road to a team they were supposed to beat by 5.
I think that's what is so frustrating about the AP poll when we look at it, is that there are some people that are ranking based on you have 6 wins versus your 4-1. You're 6-0 versus your 5-1. Some people are ranking based on that. Some people are ranking based on the quality of teams that you beat, the quality of losses. Some people are just purely ranking on how good they think a team is, just based on whatever. I think that's just the frustration with the AP poll, and where, when we do this top 25, it becomes so interesting to see where people rank because of the fact that we're all ranking on something different based on what matters to us most.
And there's no way to come up with some hard line criteria. Right. And that's why, as much as we rip the AP poll to shreds at times, there is no hard line criteria. It's a subjective poll at the end of the day. And yes, power rating, whatever, people are going to rank it on their own beliefs, on their own merit. There is no set out criteria. And by the way, just one more thing on Memphis. Tulsa, FAU, barely a Power 4 program, Arkansas, Chattanooga, Georgia State, Troy. I'm not rattling off some world beaters here, Josh. They went 6-0 against teams that Penn State's 3-0 record was against those same teams. There's not much more other than the fact that
they have a win against the Power 4. Penn State doesn't. I mean, or Texas. It's simple.
Calling Arkansas a Power 4 program right now might be a stretch, but okay.
Calling Penn State a Power 4 program this year seems like a stretch, but that's a different conversation. I think the only outlier that I really have, I think it will eventually work itself out, is just LSU, because again, LSU at this point in time is still hanging on to that Clemson win, which very obviously is not exactly a quality win. And again, it goes back to, they were a top 4 team in the preseason, but you can't just base it off of that. Yeah, they've only lost the one game, and it was to a very good Ole Miss team. I think that will eventually sort itself out, and I think that we did the right thing by leaving them in their spot, and they kind of have to.
They also beat a Florida team that just knocked a team from 10 to unranked. I mean, Florida.
But at the same time, how much have we, and you especially, talked about how we didn't think Texas was a top 10 team? You especially.
Well, right.
It wasn't
like
no one agrees with me. Texas hasn't looked like a world beater this year, though. It's not like Florida went in and beat a team that looked fantastic. Texas looked just as bad, if not worse, than Penn State at times this year. Penn State loss is more shocking.
I think that if you do a lot of blind rankings with some of the resumes of this, I mean, 1 through 25 on this list, if you had some blind rankings, I think you would be surprised by some of the the way the teams that you pick over others. I mean, and especially when I know we're talking about just wins and losses, but some AP voters are looking at Oklahoma in that quarterback situation, just like they did with Florida State years ago. Was that 2022 or whatever that was? And they're saying, hey, Oklahoma's outside my top 10 because they don't have a quarterback right now. So I think it's
Which is unfair because they've played one game since Mateer went down, and the backup, and it was Kent State, but it was he looked good. He did what he had to do against a team like Kent State, right? And I don't think it's fair to judge Oklahoma on anything until except for what they've done, until we see them not do what they've done, right? So.
Well, this week will be a good indication of that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a great way to end it. Our top 25 is so we have a tie for number 1 right now, which is definitely interesting to me. We may have a new number 1.
Why?
In the next few weeks.
Actually, no, we don't have to go there.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I want to hear Thomas, you texted us early in that Miami game last night saying Miami's my new number 1, and the gap closed against Florida State, right? Did you just see where does I didn't really argue with it because I think Ohio State's kept the standard to be my number 1 throughout this whole time. They've done nothing to move them from that spot. Miami's put them in a good position to get to number 1, but why Miami over Ohio State this week?
I think Dylan said a good thing earlier when he was saying, we're kind of too scared to pick some of those games that for teams. And I think when I was looking back at some of my polls, I think I was just afraid to say that Ohio State, because they didn't lose or they didn't punish themselves. I didn't want to punish Ohio State, but I think when I looked at Miami's resume now with 3 ranked wins, now take them however you wanted with it. For me, this win was enough to say Ohio State's win over Texas when Texas was number 1. That's a great win. I personally would consider that like beating 2 top 25 ranked teams outside the top 10 or something like that. Like I give an extra win, essentially, is kind of how I looked at it. But this win over Florida State, when you look at the way Miami played to start, I know it got close, but like you said, sometimes games don't feel as close as the final score says. But for me, getting that 3rd ranked win early in the season, and I know they beat South Florida as one of their ranked wins, but South Florida's ranked now for our poll. For me, the 3rd win propelled Miami over Ohio State for the time being. Obviously, I still think Ohio State is neck and neck with Miami. I wouldn't say it's a huge gap at all. I think if you put Miami and Ohio State up against each other right now, it is a field goal, within a field goal. Like I would coin flip that game. So for me, it was just the fact that Miami gets a third ranked win this early in the season. And I love Ohio State's the way they play. I've always been a Jeremiah Smith fan. I think they have really good weapons all over the field. Their defense is obviously very good. But for me right now, Miami showed me some things in that game, especially in the first half, that gave me enough to say they're ahead of Ohio State right now.
I did the same thing, and I'll say the same thing. It's the resume for me, but that could very quickly flip after this week, and that's just Ohio State just getting another notch on their belt. I think Ohio State's the best team in the country, but I'm going to reward on resume in that regard. That's what I mean. That's why the top 20 to me is so much easier to do than the top 25. And I know we just sat here and bickered over the back end decision I made, but the top 20 are the teams that I think legitimately you're putting a lot of thought and time into because they are the best teams in the country. They're the top 20 teams in the country. Really, the top 15 are the best teams in the country that have a legitimate shot to win a national title. And when it comes to Miami and Ohio State, I think they're a rung above the ladder. And maybe you throw Oregon in there. I think you do throw Oregon in there. But although their resume looks a little bit less impressive after how bad Penn State performed this weekend. So I think to me, it's Miami, Ohio State, interchangeable probably right now at 1, and then the rest of the pack, and not a far gap to Oregon, Oklahoma, Ole Miss. And I think and maybe Alabama. I still don't fully buy the hype on another team, but I'll talk about them in a second.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know I said there's like a tier 1 of like 6 teams. I would even put an S tier above that of Miami and Ohio State. I think that's how close it is. The last thing I want to say about the way I ranked it is I just wanted to set a precedent for my future polls as well, that I do think Miami is a better team right now. So that's part of the ranking. But I think we will close that out. Miami and Ohio State are our pretty much consensus top 2 teams regardless. We will move on to our picks for this week of college football. A little bit of a score update for you. I suck at picking the locks, apparently. Everybody else got their lock right. Akron continues to screw me. Central Michigan couldn't get a win. And then Dylan got his long shot. He was the only one picked Wake Forest.
Had to have it.
So that actually shook up the points a lot because Dylan gets 5 points despite going 4 for 10. I only get 5 points. Justin and Grant both with 7, and Josh with 6. So
I knew I should have picked Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
I could have been so much smarter there.
So guys, when you hear some of these scores, you're gonna be surprised. So we'll start from the bottom. Dylan is 22 points, 19 and 21. Josh and I are tied at 24 points. However, I am a 27 and 13 record. Josh is 23 and 17. So clearly my
long shots, baby.
My locks have screwed me is what has happened here. But get this, boys. Justin and Grant are tied at 25. And I think the most interesting thing is Justin's at 25 and 15. And you would think, oh, Grant's got to be less than that, right? Grant is 26 and 14. I mean, shout out Mr. Grant Sheets. I mean, I know we haven't had him on the podcast yet, but the kid's putting in some good picks.
Hey, he exists. I'm trying to write that story of worst to first. I know it's only going to last till like this week because I have some insane picks coming your way here in the next couple minutes. So I'm going to crash and burn pretty quickly, but it's been a fun ride, guys, and I appreciate you giving me some sympathy.
Do you want us to stop counting
and
now,
taking it easy? Stop the count.
Didn't Josh say that after week 1? I swear he said.
I said and then when we should have, because now I'm in third.
But I think this week is a great week to start separating the pack a little bit. I
can't believe we're not picking South Florida, North Texas.
I know. Do we want to substitute? I was going to open it up to you.
11 games this week.
Oh, we could throw in an 11th game.
Oh, God, make it a 3-hour podcast.
No, I mean, listen, the reason North Texas is not in South Florida is not on this is because
there's better games.
I honestly don't care about the game.
You guys sit through that whole game. Or was somebody on here, Josh, because he seems to be the most animated around it. You watch that whole game. I'll go enjoy watching.
I picked North Texas. Dude, North Texas was my lock of the century a few weeks ago, man. I gotta support my boys.
We'll start with game 1. I think these first 5 or 6 picks, let's go try to keep it like 30 seconds to a minute. Arizona State. No. Arizona State, number 21, and Utah, both 4-1, both coming off of a bye week. Utah is 29th unofficially. They got 84 points in this week's poll. 36th meeting all time. Utah has won 4 of the last 5, and they have won 3 straight when playing at home. Justin, who do you like?
Oh, I like neither of these teams, which is not a good way to pick this. And I think I'm going to surprise people here and go with Utah and Devin Dampier at quarterback. Unfortunately, I faded Arizona State a lot this year, and it has hit me in the ass a couple of times, bit me in the ass. But it doesn't matter. Yeah, bit me in the ass. There we go. It doesn't matter. There's just been something about Utah that I do like. And I know I picked Texas Tech against them, and I was right there. But this is a Utah team that it has a different feel than the last few years in which Cam Rising was always injured and you didn't know who was starting at quarterback. You've got that situation figured out. Yeah, and you've got a good running game to, go with it. I think you just have to figure out defensively, you can't have what Texas Tech did against you in your last, big ranked matchup. And I think with the way Sam Leavitt has been up and down, he started the season down, now he's up. He's bound to fall back down at some point. So I have Utah here in an upset.
Dylan?
I really kind of was hoping to be out on the island on this one because otherwise I plan to not be as against the grain this week. Maybe I will. Who knows what's going to happen. But I've been pretty consistent with my endorsements of this Utah team from the start of the show this season. I think that they're one of those teams that is going to just sneaky be hanging around all year long and a thorn in your side. Arizona State's had some dogfights in these past couple weeks that have really taxed them, I think, a lot more than people realize. They've gone to war, and they've been lucky to come out on top for the majority of it outside of that loss to Mississippi State. But, I mean, they didn't have a cakewalk against Texas State. And they won by 3 against Baylor and TCU, 2 games against 2 pretty good offenses that they had a nice performance defensively, but still stayed in a pretty much deadlock game. I think Utah's offense provides the Arizona State defense some fits that they haven't seen yet with Dampier. And then on the other side of the ball, I think if Utah can force some takeaways here, make Sam Leavitt make some mistakes here, force him to push the ball down the field, make mistakes, I think that's what's going to happen. Utah, even though I like Kenny Dillingham, hey, job's open possibly in State College if he's interested. But I really do. I'm going to go with the guy. I'm going with Whittingham, and I'm going with Utah here. So I'm going to go with the Utes too and riding with Justin.
Well, it's better than riding because I also thought I was going to go against the grain with this pick, but this is terrible. This is not going to go well for us, boys. Look, I think that Utah is still – I don't know, and I honestly I completely forgot about Utah when making my poll, but I should have had them ranked because realistically their one loss is to a top 10 team in our poll and in the AP poll. And again, that game was a lot closer until really, I'd say about the 10-minute mark of the fourth quarter where Texas Tech just long touchdown play after long touchdown play. And Utah just ran out of gas. This is still a very good Utah team. Like you mentioned, Devin Dampier is a fantastic quarterback. They finally got somebody that, A, can be the guy and, B, can stay healthy. I like Arizona State as well. I think these are 2 teams with 2 of the best losses in college football. I think Mississippi State on the road, last second loss, very good Mississippi State team. I think Mississippi State team is probably the best 2-loss team in the country right now. Besides, I guess, I'll give Notre Dame some credit, but Mississippi State is up there for me as well. And Utah's one loss being to Texas Tech, who has been dominant in every game they played so far. So I also have Utah, especially it being at home. I love Devin Dampier. I hate that I'm now agreeing with both you. I thought I was going to be, a surprise pick with this one, but this sucks.
For me, I mean, it'd be easy for all of us to hit the Gavin McKenna and go with the forks down, right? But for me, it's forks up.
Great reference.
I have been on this ASU team all season. I picked them to be in their conference championship game. I still believe in Sam Leavitt, Kenny Dillingham. I'm going to pick Arizona State simply because I've been riding them with them this year, and I'm going to stick with it. So that is our first game, maybe a little longer than we anticipated. But we're going to go to our next game here, which is Florida, who is 2-3 at number 5, Texas A&M. Texas A&M holds a 4-3 lead all time in the series. Florida did have a massive upset over Texas at home. This game is prime time on ESPN, which, considering there's a 2-3 team involved, could that spell upset in this one, Justin? Do you want to do it again?
Do not do it again.
Guys.
They're not at home.
Do it.
I owe it to Billy Napier and DJ Lagway and the defense after the performance they put up against Texas to prove me right. And I have been a team that I have picked Texas A&M this year. I will not say I haven't, but I have not necessarily been as impressed with each of A&M's individual wins. I'm impressed with their 5-0 record. I'm impressed with the resume that comes with it. But each win has had its own thing that I can look at and point to as something that I didn't like. Notre Dame, you shouldn't have let up 40 points against them. Auburn, you should have scored more than 16. I thought this Mississippi State game was probably their best effort so far. And I do think they will be helped by the 12th man, just like I had Florida at the Swamp being helped by their fans and all that. But let me tell you something. I think Billy Napier is finally opening his eyes, and he's finally learning a little bit. DJ Lagway just had his best game of the season against a strong Texas defense. I've been against their offense, but it's a strong Texas defense. 21-28, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns. Still threw a pick, but considering he threw 5 against LSU, it's a lot better. I am riding back-to-back weeks with the Florida Gators. Give me them.
2 words. Wow.
Dylan?
I don't fully buy into this Texas A&M team, and I've stayed pretty consistent in that. I really don't. I think they are talented, but they're kind of in that LSU tier for me, where their wins have come and they've been impressive at points, but they've come in, as Justin just said, vastly different ways, where you are able to lock down Auburn, but then you put forth, you get into a boat race against Mississippi State and a boat race against Notre Dame. This is a Florida team that, as Justin said, is kind of figuring it out, which terrifies me. But I am still going to stay consistent with my rule that I am not picking DJ Lagway again this season. I will not do it on this show. He burned me once. Shame on you. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. I'm not going to let it happen again. And James Franklin is going to look real good donning the Gator blue next year. So that's kind of where my head's at.
No, he's going to Arkansas.
Give me A&M.
Job.
Kansas.
I think that Billy Napier is the best coach when he's on the hot seat. I think every time that we have this conversation every year where they have a terrible start and then he wins one big game and all of a sudden he is free of all hot seat talk for the rest of the season. They already got that win last week against Texas. It's not happening again. Billy Napier puts all of his coaching might into one game every year when his team is dead in the water. It's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. This is still a terrible Florida team. You might not pick DJ Lagway, Dylan Price, but boy, is DJ Lagway going to throw some picks your way. Maybe 5 again this weekend. The Texas A&M by a landslide.
Creative.
Oh, you cooked there. I think Texas A&M wins too. I think because Florida was playing at home against Texas, that helped them so much. If that's at Texas playing at home, I do think Texas wins that game against Florida, but I think the home advantage was really there. So give me Texas A&M and their 12th man. We'll move on. Number 10, Georgia, who is 4-1 after a loss to Alabama. They're on the road to play Auburn, who is 3-2. Georgia is up 2 spots. Auburn did receive a single point in the AP poll, so they did get 1 vote. Auburn's retiring Cam Newton's jersey at this game. Not sure if that matters to anybody. The last 2 losses for Auburn, though, and I think this is where resume comes into it, have been on the road against the number 11 ranked team and the number 9 ranked team at the time. So Auburn, a 3-2 team, but maybe a very good 3-2 team. Justin, who do you like in this matchup?
Can you read me who their 3 wins are against, please? I'll just read it. Baylor, okay. Ball State, and I believe USA stands for not the United States of America, but the University of South Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. Look, I want to keep this one pretty dang short. The Jackson Arnold experiment at Auburn has been a fail. I'm taking Georgia, and quite frankly, we should have replaced this game with USF in North Texas. I don't see how you could possibly fathom to pick Auburn.
Until Dylan goes right here. Go ahead.
No. This was a game a couple years ago, and Brock Bowers had to clutch up and save this one from being a disastrous upset for Georgia. It won't happen again. Kirby Smart's on a redemption tour. He doesn't lose a lot of these games. In fact, he's only lost 1 of these games. He's 68-1 all time against unranked teams, or rather since 2017. So for the last 8 years, he doesn't lose a lot of these games. And if he does lose one of these games this year, it sure as hell is not going to be against Auburn. I'm with Justin on this one. The experiments failed. Give me Georgia.
I wouldn't say the experiment's failed. I mean, he's got 5 touchdowns on the year. I don't think he's been terrible. I'm not going to sit here and say that Jackson Arnold is a fantastic quarterback.
You just said, wait, timeout. I'm not dealing with this stupidity tonight. You just said, I don't think this experiment's been a fail. He has 5 touchdowns on the season. You know how many games they've played? 5. He is a quarterback averaging 1 touchdown per game, Josh.
The nice part
they play tough opponent. Okay, not South.
It's his beloved Auburn.
They're not beloved. Stop saying that. The joke is 5 years old.
The nice part about being on a show with Josh is that he somehow finds a way to put his own foot into it for him.
No, I wouldn't say. I think Jackson Arnold still had a fine game against Oklahoma a few weeks ago. I think he played fine. I think he didn't make any terrible mistakes. I'm not going to go against the grain here, though. I think this is a terrible time for.
No, do it.
No, wait. Can we correct ourselves? He has 5 passing touchdowns. He has 10 total touchdowns. But we gave you I gave you the 3 teams he played in the beginning of the year. He should have a lot more touchdowns.
So should Drew Aller, but that's a different conversation.
We're not talking about them right
now.
Can
I finish my regardless? This is a terrible time. These used to be really fun games. Remember the Prayer and Jordan Hare, Ricardo Lewis, that 4th and 26 play, that was fantastic. They've lost their meaning now. Auburn hasn't been good in a while. They were ranked at one point to start this season. This is a terrible time for Auburn to play Georgia, coming off their first home loss in an NCAA record amount of time. Kirby Smart does not lose back-to-back games. That's certainly not going to happen on the road in Jordan Hare.
I agree. I think Georgia, a good win over Kentucky. Kentucky team that's not really much, but a nice bounce-back win. That was a tough game against Alabama, but their defense, I believe, shut them out in the second half of that game. So the Georgia defense is still there, and I think they will give Jackson Arnold fits in this game. So give me Georgia. Another SEC matchup, South Carolina, who is 3-2 on the road against number 11 LSU, 4-1, both coming off of a bye week. LSU owns a 2-game win streak in the series. Last year was a really good game. LSU did win 36-33.
Rigged.
And yeah, right. South Carolina has just 2 wins in program history over LSU, and those came in 1994 and 1930. So, Justin, do you think they get their first win over LSU in over 20 years?
Lenore Sellers has had a good year.
30 years.
He's got Lenore Sellers has 5 touchdowns.
Don't even give me that. He's been injured for 2 games. Shut up. Get to your point.
And Jackson Arnold, you said, was good. So
he has 10 total touchdowns.
I can't take this seriously.
I'm not calling it a failed experiment. He's not thrown a single interception. It's not playing terribly.
Let me ask you a question. When you were in high school and you took science, because I know that's about as far back as it goes for you.
I have a better degree than whatever. Continue.
We have the same degree.
I have a statistics degree too.
I thought you have a statistics minor. Can we not?
Still a degree.
It's not,
I have like 3 minors. All right.
Careful now.
When you were in science class, and you mixing stuff together and you're trying to experiment. If it is a bad reaction, and I would think we would consider 2 losses a bad reaction. You know what they call that? Not passable, good. No, a failed experiment. That's the classification of the word.
You're saying it like he's thrown 25 interceptions and has looked terrible. They're playing.
He looks out of his element every time he is on the field with a better opponent. Every time.
You could say that about so many quarterbacks, but regardless. Why are we still on this? Get to your freaking pick, Justin. Jesus Christ.
You guys interrupted me.
No, you brought this up.
I was trying to make a point about Lenore Sellers, and
he has missed games.
All right, Justin, you got 5 words to make your pick.
All right.
Oh, that's 1.
South Carolina wins.
Wow. You got an extra one. Do you want to use it?
No.
There you go. Okay. So South Carolina for Justin. Dylan, who do you like?
It's at night. It's in Baton Rouge. As much as I want to be the contrarian, and I really did want to go with South Carolina too. I think it's going to be a really good game. I don't feel comfortable picking LSU and Brian Kelly and Garrett Nussmeier and this offense that seems lifeless at times, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to be everything I hate. It's like when I picked Indiana a couple weeks ago. Give me the Tigers.
Bad
Josh?
pick. Bad pick. Yeah, I don't like agreeing with Justin, but I will here.
Don't.
Well, I'm going to because I think this has been a perfect time for the Norris Sellers to get healthy after missing missing parts of the last game with a concussion. I think it's a good reset for a Shane Beamer squad that at least once a year has one of these big wins that reminds us why he is the head coach in South Carolina, why South Carolina at times has had some relevancy. I think they do get this win. I like their offense more. I trust the Norris Sellers a lot more than Garrett Nussmeier, who has looked very bad this season. No doubt about it. And this offense has not just looked lifeless at times. It's looked lifeless all the time. They've been bad. So I'm also going with the upset.
You used all those words just to say the same thing Justin said.
I'm going to pick LSU because I think, Garrett Nussmeier's had he struggled a little bit, but he's been fine. I think he's thrown like more than 5 touchdowns. I'll take Garrett Nussmeier in LSU. A little bit concerned for Whit Weeks. Need a status update on his relationship after that loss to Ole Miss. I mean, are they still together? Was there a little fight?
He lost, but did he really?
Yeah, well,
What do you mean by that, Josh?
Yeah, I can't answer that.
I don't know. I think he still has a girlfriend. I don't care about their personal
relationship. That's the question
that's the one everyone wants to know the answer to. So, yeah.
I'll pick LSU.
What went wrong in the game? We need to know if his relationship.
Yes. I'll pick LSU and we'll split that one. So we'll move on to our next game. Number 18 ranked BYU, who is 5-0. At Arizona, 4-1. These teams have played 4 times since 2016, and BYU won every single matchup. BYU won 41-19 last season, so pretty dominant win there for the Cougars. Justin, who do you like?
God, I hate going first. Honestly,
okay, we can skip you. You want to go?
I can go first.
Yeah,
Dylan,
please.
go ahead.
BYU tried to find a way to lose when they were up against West Virginia last time out. I mean, they fumbled the ball 3 times. They made mistakes. They shot themselves in the foot, and they still won by 14 points. BYU is a pretty good team. I don't have them in like the great tier or the really good tier, but they're a pretty good team. And I think that they're a better team than Arizona from a talent perspective. I think they're better coached. And I think they're going to be able to win this game. Even if they shoot themselves in the foot and make some mistakes, they're still going to be able to come out on top. So give me Bear and give me BYU.
Justin, you want to go next? You want to defer to Josh?
Or do you want me to go?
No, I'm going last on this one now.
Okay, Josh, go ahead.
This is a tough one. I mean, I really like Arizona. I like BYU too. I think I trust BYU in those situations, right? I mean, I think what Dylan kind of said was, I mean, they really did shoot themselves in the foot, but they still won by 2 scores. Not exactly the world's best West Virginia team, but still a West Virginia team regardless. You can't necessarily take lightly. And I do think that Arizona, I think that their schedule has been a little bit lackluster. I think playing Oklahoma State and teams like Weber and Hawaii doesn't really set you up for success. And your one, opponent, your one team that you played that was relatively good was Iowa State, who steamrolled you, and I picked Arizona to win that game. So I'm not picking Arizona yet. I've got the Cougars.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take BYU as well. I like this quarterback matchup. I think it'll be fun. You got 2 different style quarterbacks. Definitely an interesting matchup. I like Arizona to potentially cover in this game. I'm not exactly sure what the line was. I believe I saw 6.5. Not sure if that's correct or not.
It's down to 2.5, I think. Let me double check.
Okay, so maybe it changed a lot.
2.5.
But I like Arizona to keep it close, but I think BYU overall will get a big win. We will move on to
no, we won't. I didn't make my pick.
Oh, sorry.
Who cares?
I'm so used to going last. Go ahead, Justin.
The reason I was hesitant was because I don't think I like either of these teams' schedules, but I have nothing to lose now by picking BYU with you guys, so I'm going to pick BYU with you guys. I guess their wins against bad opponents have been a little bit more impressive, so give me Bear Bachmeier, who wears the ugliest quarterback jersey number in college football history.
It's kind of tough. I'm not going to lie. I kind of like it. But we'll move on to our next game. Big Ten matchup. Number 15, Michigan, who is 4-1 at USC, who is also 4-1. First time Michigan has played in LA against USC since September of 1957. But these 2 teams have frequently met in the Rose Bowl. They played each other 8 times in the Rose Bowl game. So USC leads the series 6-5 all time. Who wants to start this? Well, Josh, we'll let you start this one.
Yeah. If you want to talk about the Jackson Arnold experiment being bad, the start of the Bryce Underwood experiment has been so much worse. 3 touchdowns so far in the year. Michigan looked terrible for 3 quarters against a bad Wisconsin team at home, by the way. They looked terrible. They looked awful. I don't like this Michigan offense. I trust this Michigan offense the same way I trust the LSU offense, which is 0%. And I love the way that USC has played football. I think that, again, their one loss to an Illinois team that is still a very good football team, despite getting, steamboated by a really good Indiana team. I think USC is still a good team. Yeah, their defense isn't exactly great, but Michigan's played teams that don't have good defenses and they still struggle to put up points. I don't think they can strictly rely on the run game here. I think this could become a shootout, given the way that USC likes playing football games, and I don't think Michigan can keep up. So I'll go with USC with the upset here.
Dylan?
You know what you call an experiment? Something that has had a substantial amount of time to pull and evaluate.
You mean the fact that Jackson Arnold has played they've played the same amount of games for their respective teams, mind you, so I don't want to hear it.
Jackson Arnold has a lot more college football experience, dude. Bryce Underwood should still be in high school. And he is out there balling out right now. He is out there balling out. If you watch Michigan, the kid is in command of the offense. He does not look out of his element like Jackson Arnold does every time he touches.
I would argue that he – okay. Wow. Okay. I think he does look out of his element.
Underwood looks confident. He looks comfortable, but it's a moot point because I am taking the Trojans as well after all of what I just said, just to poke the bear a little bit more with Josh, who's stewing out there in Minnesota. I can sense his anger mild.
You can't use that whole Jackson Arnold thing against me. And then Bryce Underwood has also, by the way, not looked confident, but that's a different point.
I think he is going to look much more equipped for the moment on Saturday night than Jackson Arnold would in the same environment with the same cast of characters around him. I'm still taking USC. I still love this Trojans team. I'm still buying stock in this Trojans team, and I think they're going to win this game. But I think this is going to be a really good game. So I'm going to go with the Trojans with a smile on my face, but also say I can't wait for Bryce Underwood to look good in this game.
Justin.
Yeah, we can talk about the quarterbacks all we really want here. In terms of potentially being a failed experiment or whatnot. You know who's not a failed experiment for Michigan? That's the running back Justice Haynes. He has been phenomenal. Of course, my iPad crashed with the stats that I was going to read, so I don't have them in front of me anymore. He's looked good. I don't think I'm kind of split between you two. I don't think Underwood's looked fantastic. I don't think he's looked awful. I think he's kind of had his moments and he's had his struggles. But I think this is the reason they paid him $10.1 million. It's to win a game like this on the road against USC. Look, USC, they were my team going to the Big Ten championship, and it hurts to say. But I have now, after our conversation earlier, realized that I cannot keep my preseason, thoughts going. I can't do it. So USC gets a second loss and basically eliminates them from the Big Ten conference potential. Give me the Michigan Wolverines.
Listen,
Dylan, really quickly, I just want to say that both Jackson Arnold and Bryce Underwood have had a similar opponent. They actually have a common opponent in the same location, and Jackson Arnold played miles better.
Who was that common opponent?
Oklahoma.
It's not a bad
Oklahoma.
Whoa. Jackson Arnold played at Oklahoma last year during his career. It was a little – he was trying to deliver – I won't do it, but he was trying to deliver the double middle finger to him.
If anybody
it's still a common opponent.
The fact that
Bryce Underwood is 18 years old. Jackson Arnold is 21.
Listen,
Dylan, Bryce Underwood looks like a
Dylan's basically the same age as Bryce Underwood when you really think about it.
the fact that Dylan was just sitting there and he's moved on to the next game, and Josh brought this up, like genuinely.
I don't know what love and admiration you have for Jackson Arnold, but
it's not that I have love for it. You're saying you're saying he's been playing.
I never once did the words come out of my mouth. Jackson Arnold is a terrible quarterback.
I think calling it a failed experiment is a bit of a stretch.
I was the one who said failed experiment.
He agreed.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pick USC. I'm gonna pick USC. Listen. At the end of the day, I think Michigan has the best running back in the Big Ten. I think USC has the second best receiver in the Big Ten. Mekhi Lemon is a demon. He is insanely good.
He's making lemons out of lemonade.
Yeah,
That's not how that works.
He is. Well,
That's an experiment, Josh. You can find out.
You can't make lemons out of lemonade.
Dylan, you can. No, anyway, I'm going to pick USC, and we're
That's
moving
not how
on.
an experiment works.
We have 4 games to go. Let's go, boys. All right, here we go. Number 6, Oklahoma, 5-0 at Texas, who is 3-2. It is the Red River rivalry. Okay, got that. 64, 51, and 5. Texas leads the series. First matchup between these two came in 1900. This is the first time that Texas isn't ranked in nearly 3 years. But they do open as 3.5-point favorites in this game. Obviously, John Mateer not expected to be available. Michael Hawkins Jr. should start. He did have a good game against Kent State, albeit it was Kent State. But he did struggle. He did play Texas last year. He struggled against Texas and was sacked 6 times in the game. Justin, we'll start with you again. Who do you like?
No, it's actually pretty simple for me. Michael Hawkins played who? Yeah, Kent State, and he played well. He had 3 touchdowns, which is almost the same as Jackson Arnold. But 14 of 24 doesn't really move the needle for me. And Oklahoma has really failed to establish the running game that I thought they were going to establish. Jaden Ott was a disappointment, in my opinion, against Kent State. Just 11 carries, 49 yards. I know they were trying to keep the ball, moving to other guys so he could stay healthy for this Texas game. But look, Texas needs to rebound here, and they need to do so in a big way. And at the end of the day, I think Steve Sarkisian, I've told you guys, I think this coach is the best or one of the best. I have that same feeling with Steve Sarkisian. He's one of the top 5 coaches in college football. He is going to have this team ready to compete against Oklahoma, specifically on the defensive end against, Michael Hawkins and whatever Oklahoma's got left offensively. And look, you don't need Arch to be awesome. You need Arch to just be decent. And you can win this game because Oklahoma's offense isn't what it would be with John Mateer. I hate to do it because I'm always horns down, but I am going with Texas.
Forks down. Sorry, I'm just looking hockey.
This is a very tough game to pick. I actually think it's probably the hardest game left we have to pick, in my opinion, because if John Mateer is here, I think Oklahoma wins this game. But Texas has found a way without creating a really, really strong pass rush to still be a pretty stymieing presence on the defensive side of the football. And then on the other side, for a team that is so flash, they've just not been substance on the offensive side of the ball. They make too many mistakes. Their ground game has just not been anything. Arch Manning, the leading rusher from this past weekend's game. And it's concerning. It's concerning that Texas continues to look like this and look like they're outmatched, outclassed, and kind of just bullied over. And their defense has done well to keep them in games. They're going to have to do it because even though Hawkins is a backup, he's going to move the ball down the field. I've gone back and forth on it. I am going to say that there's just a lot more on the line to lose for Texas in this one than there is for Oklahoma, and that's going to be the differentiator for me. So as bad as I want to yell, Boomer! Sooner. I can't this week. Give me Texas.
Josh?
Your reasoning is the exact same as mine. It's the fact that this is kind of a must-win game for this Texas team to prove that they, at least have some resemblance of being the preseason number 1 team that they were. I do think if John Mateer was fully healthy, this game is not close. But I think first Red River rivalry for a backup quarterback doesn't always end up the way that it did a few years ago when Caleb Williams came in and dominated for Oklahoma way back when. Not really that far ago, not that long ago. But I think there's just too much on the line for this Texas team. I mean, their season's on the line this week, whereas Oklahoma, you lose this game, not the end of the world. I think Texas is going to come in with they're going to put it all out there. So I've got the Longhorns, unfortunately.
Wow. I honestly did not expect this. I thought there'd be a couple of Oklahomas in this. I didn't think everyone would go Texas. I'm very 50-50 on this game. I mean, I think you guys all made good points. If John Mateer is in this, I'm 100% picking Oklahoma. But at this point, I don't know how to analyze Michael Hawkins Jr. Obviously, he struggled against Texas last year. So I would just bet that he struggles against Texas again this year. And hopefully Arch Manning can figure something out. I mean, I'm going to ride with Texas, I guess. I think Texas, you throw all the records out the window when you have a rivalry like this. So give me the Longhorns. And we'll move on to our first ranked matchup of 3 this week in week 7. It's number 1, Ohio State, 5-0, at number 17, Illinois, who is 5-1. Illinois did jump up 5 spots. There's a bunch of teams that jumped up 5 spots this week. Ohio State leads the series 69-30-4 all time. First meeting between these two sides since 2017. Josh, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, this one's not really going to be that difficult. I do like Illinois, but Ohio State, I mean, there's a reason they're my number 1 team. I think until it comes down to, until they prove that they don't deserve to be the number 1 team in the country, they're going to have my number 1 spot, and they're going to continue to have my number 1 spot. Julian Sayin has become the mastermind of that offense as a quarterback. He's been making the right plays, the smart plays, and they're going to go in. They're going to win this game big. I think they really get that big resume builder that they don't have yet. It's no fault of their own because Texas has been bad, but Ohio State's going to win this one.
Dylan?
Sometimes boxers take fights just to pad their resume before they get ready for a real heavyweight clash. This feels like one of those. This just feels like one where a lot of people are going to put stock in it for a ranked win on the road in Champaign, but it's really just a good boxer taking care of business, a good heavyweight kind of just walk in, walk out, get the job done. I think this game's going to be very reminiscent to the Indiana game from last year, where there's a lot of expectations around Illinois. Ohio State's going to take care of business. Offense is going to flash and show some spark. And Illinois is a good team, not a great team. I don't think they deserve to fall out of the top 25 with a loss here, but I do think this will impact them because I think Ohio State's going to show up. It might not look pretty at some points, but at the end of the day, they're going to walk out with a pretty controlled, complete win.
Justin?
Yeah, did you guys see that catch from Maserati Mav today in the Colts game? Not Colts, Cardinals game.
I wish he
was named. He was named
though.
Down to the 1 though, which was annoying.
You guys can tell by the way I'm starting this that I really don't care about this game because Jeremiah Smith's better than Maserati Marv was. Julian Sayin was better than who was even throwing the ball at that point?
Will Howard?
No,
Steelers
the year before. Was that Stroud? Julian Sayin has looked better so far, in my opinion, and Bo Jackson has had a resurgence, I guess. Even though I'm just kind of kidding there, it's a different Bo Jackson, guys. Can you laugh at my joke to make me feel better?
No.
Thanks. We all saw what happened when Illinois faced Indiana, a top 10 team in the country right now. I don't think it's going to be quite like that, and I think after this week, hint at a different game, we might be questioning who really is the top dog in the Big Ten. Will it be Ohio State or will it be Indiana? That being said, I have Ohio State in this game.
I have Ohio State as well. I mean, Jeremiah Smith, after kind of struggling against Texas, he's had at least 1 touchdown in the rest of their games. Obviously, the opponents have the quality has not been there, but I still think Ohio State, in my poll, is the number 2 team in the country, right there with Miami. And Illinois is a good team. Don't get me wrong. I think they will finish somewhere in the top 25 in the last poll of the year. But I do think Ohio State wins this game. So sweep there for the Buckeyes. We'll move on. SEC matchup this week. Number 8, Alabama, who is 4-1 on the road against Missouri, who is number 14 and also 5-0, led by Bo Perbula. Mizzou, another one of those teams that's up 5 spots. Bama had a ranked win over Vanderbilt. Alabama leads the series all time 6-2. Missouri has never beat Alabama since joining the SEC. But the Mizzou run game could be the difference. But Alabama has the advantage in the skies. So, Justin, who do you like?
Yeah, what was that stat? Missouri hasn't beaten Alabama since joining the SEC. I think this year in college football, another headline we could have put up earlier in the show is history tends to repeat itself. Kirby Smart couldn't beat Alabama. James Franklin couldn't beat the big team and get the big win. You can go anywhere in any different direction and realize that sometimes history continues to repeat itself. Look, I love this Missouri team. I picked against them once this year and I regretted it. But I'm going to pick against them again because I think Alabama has figured out for the most part what went wrong in their loss to Florida State. Just not being prepared. I think Kalen DeBoer was willing to, make the changes that had to be made to get his program back to where it should be. I like what Alabama's doing all around, all over the field. Ty Simpson, 13 touchdowns to 1 interception. Jam Miller, I know you guys hate how much I bring him up, but he's back and he's only getting better. And this is an Alabama team coming off of a win that, for some reason, not a lot of people thought they were going to have against Vandy just because how Vandy's played. think about the quarterback situation with Diego Pavia and Bo Pribula. I think Bo's a little bit more athletic, but kind of that same style of game where the arm has been deemed questionable, but the legs aren't. I think that's a question that comes up, and I think Alabama handles Bo to the best of their abilities here, even with this game being played at Mizzou. So, long story short, I have the Crimson Tide.
Dylan?
Opportunity is ripe for the taking for Pribula to have a statement-making moment, and at this time when Penn State is at their lowest point, to kick them while they're down and really throw some salt in the wound. And that in its own right is an alluring fact about this Mizzou team and makes me want to pick this Mizzou team. Ahmad Hardy also is still firmly in the mix for the Heisman conversation. Hell, you could even put Bo still in the mix possibly for the Heisman conversation. He's sure as hell a lot more in it than anybody wearing the blue and white, but that's just a separate conversation again for me to kick somebody while they're down. On the other side, maybe the Heisman favorite right now is Ty Simpson. I mean, the guy has been exceptional. He's got all the weapons at his arsenal. Feels like he's finally confident, delivering good balls, and he's the kind of quarterback you can fit perfectly into this Kalen DeBoer system. We've seen that. Alabama's defense is too deep. Alabama's defense is too strong. Great measuring stick game for Bo. Really excited to see how he performs, and I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a close game, but Alabama, I think, comes out on top.
Josh?
Well, I think not to beat a dead horse, but we can say the Bo Pribula experiment has actually at least worked out. That is something I think we can all agree on.
I'll agree with you there, I guess.
I disagree.
All right. I don't want to do it, but I think I'm going to do it. Look, there's no reason
do it
for me
and do
to
it
go,
with conviction and confidence, man.
There is no reason for me to go against the grain here and not pick Bama, except for the fact that I just like this Missouri team that much. I love Bo Pribula. I love this offense. I love the way they've looked. I love the confidence everyone on that team has. They look better than they did last year when they had Luther Burden and Brady Cook and all these other top tier guys. They're a fun team. And I like when fun teams are winning football games. I think this is going to be a fun team that wins again this weekend. I like it. I think, again, I said last week that loss to Florida State was the best thing that could have happened to Alabama. And I still agree on that. This is a very hostile environment to go into. I think that this is going to be the toughest environment. I think it's going to be tougher than Georgia to go into. I think this is a fan base that's a lot more raucous, a smaller stadium. I just love this Missouri team. Yeah, history always does repeat itself when it comes down to it, but also at least once a week you have one of those big games that reminds you this is why you love college football, and this game is the one for me. I'm taking the Tigers.
I think it's a valid pick. I mean, the line is set at -3.5 in favor of Alabama, but I do think this is going to be a tight game. However, I like Alabama. I mean, these are two teams in the SEC that I picked to go above their win totals. Alabama's at 9.5. Mizzou, I believe, is 6.5. I think Missouri was heavily underrated coming into this. But you look at their schedules. Alabama, I completely agree, Josh. I think that Florida State loss was really good. Alabama will have Tennessee at home, South Carolina on the road, LSU at home, Oklahoma at home, and then Eastern Illinois and Auburn. I could see Alabama winning out the rest of the year and really solidifying them as one of the top seeds in the college football playoff. And then for Mizzou, I mean, 5-0 already. Their line was 6.5. They have some favorable matchups with Auburn, Vanderbilt, and then later in the year, Mississippi State, an Arkansas matchup. I like Mizzou. I think they're a really good team, but I like Alabama more. Give me Alabama in this game. And we will move on to our game of the week. College Game Day is returning to Eugene. Number 7, Indiana, 5-0. Number 3, Oregon, 5-0 as well. College Game Day last year in Eugene, Oregon beat Ohio State 32-31 in what was a fantastic game. So hopefully we have another good game on our hands. Oregon is 20-13 all time when they host game day. First trip for Indiana to Eugene since 2004. Oregon now, after Georgia lost to Alabama, Oregon holds the active win streak at 18 straight home wins, most active by any team. Not many matchups between these two sides, just the fourth meeting. Oregon does lead 2-1. This is a good matchup. Justin, do you want to start us off?
I mean, I guess. I don't have a real good conviction either way. I want to pick Indiana right now and go against the grain and say I've liked Fernando Mendoza a little bit more than I've liked Dante Moore, and I love Dante Moore. And I want to say that what Indiana's done this season, to me, has been a little bit more impressive. They've gotten, plays in all three facets of the game. So has Oregon, right? But this Oregon team, just is coming off, a bye week, but before that, the double OT game with Penn State, which I still think that's more of the realm of the Penn State team that we're going to see down the road, but that's a different story. Outside of that, no needle moving wins. Indiana can kind of say the same thing. The Illinois game, though, proves something to me, and it's that they're ready for the next step. And that Iowa game, they took a step backwards, right? But we always hear that Kinnick's a tough place to play. I really don't like going either way in this game, but I'm going to do something bold, different, and aggressive, and I'm going to go with the Indiana Hoosiers and Kirk Cignetti. I just don't know. He tells me to Google him, and all he does is win. So until that doesn't happen, which will probably be now that I picked him, I'm going to pick him. And I think it's going to be a close game. Could see overtime, but it's just something about the way they've done it. They've done it with confidence. They've done it with swagger. They've done it with, like I said, all three facets of the game. And it would be, kind of poetic, in my opinion, for this Indiana team to go on the road to Autzen Stadium and beat a Ducks team that just talked all this crap about the environment at Penn State and how they limited the fans and all that crap. And I think Kirk Cignetti is just the guy to do that. This comes at a perfect time to kind of humble Oregon. I love Oregon. I love Dan Lanning, but I think they need to humble, and I think Kirk Cignetti is the perfect guy to do so. Give me Indiana.
Dylan?
He needs to loosen up a little bit. He looks tense. He looks scared. And maybe Happy Valley's the place for him to loosen up a little bit. I texted you guys earlier that those little AI things were making my skin crawl seeing him in Penn State gear. I don't know what it is. He's probably a great guy. If we sat and had a beer together, we might even hit it off. But he's very tense. He's very scared. In fact, he might need a little bit of whatever Dan Lanning's on to wake up a little bit after the I get it. Google him. All he does is win. He has done a hell of a job building Indiana back into an actual school with notoriety, one that you get excited about a matchup between them and Oregon. And he's done a hell of a job recruiting, and he is clearly putting resources into this program. And that's why it's hard for me to make this pick, because we all know I'm not exactly his biggest fan. And we also know on the other side, I'm a pretty big fan of these guys. That's what pained me so much about last weekend. That's what I don't know how to get this duck to get off my screen now, because he's taking too much space up. But one thing's for sure, Oregon's going to continue to take up space in the top 25. They're going to continue to take up space as one of the top teams in the country. They're deeper, they're stronger, they're more well-versed to win this game. It's in Eugene, and you're going to make me want to shout. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. I'm excited, and I think it's going to be certainly a great coaching matchup as well, a good chess match. Listen, Google him on Sunday. You're going to see pictures of him a little bit sad, and I'm sure you're going to see Dan Lanning wins or something. But anyways, I'm going to go with the Ducks to win.
Josh?
Dylan, I like that you used the same line when you picked Illinois to beat Indiana too. The whole Google them on Sunday did not really.
No, I actually. That was
me. That was me.
That was you.
And it made my skin crawl, and then I was right.
Oh, fair enough. But this one is tough. I really do love what Kirk Cignetti has done in just 2 years with the Indiana program. I talked about last week that I think that if he had stuck at JMU would be a perennial top 25 team and the perennial group of 5 contender. I think they would have been that good under him. The problem though is that this is an Oregon team that's coming off one of their best wins in program history. I think you can call it that. On the road, whiteout, double overtime. They got the week off too. They don't really necessarily have that win hangover or the layover as well. And Dante Moore in that game proved to me, yes, this is a Penn State defense. They gave up 42 points to 0-4. I'm going to call them UCLA because I don't really want to call them UCLA. That name has come out of my mouth too many times in the last 48 hours. But I think that is still one of the best defenses, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country in Penn State. And I think that Dante Moore lit them up. I think he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think Indiana had a bit too much of a scare against Iowa on the road, and I like Oregon more. So I'm going to go with the Ducks. It pains me because I really do want to pick Indiana, but mostly to spite Justin, I think I'm going to pick Oregon.
What is there to spite me?
Just everything. Your general demeanor, really.
That might be a failed experiment. We'll see.
Nice job stumbling over your words.
Hey, figure out your stats. All right. Indiana, Oregon, this was another one of those 50-50 games for me. I was going to kind of see what you guys did here. I think if it was in Bloomington, I would feel more inclined to pick Indiana. Again, this is one where I have no idea picking either way. But I think Dante Moore, will really start to separate himself as a Heisman favorite in this game. It's in Eugene. We know Dan Lanning is a really good coach. Kirk Cincinnati is a really good coach. But I like Dan Lanning coaching at home. I like Oregon, the way they performed against Ohio State last year. They were ready to – they had a good game plan going into that game. So give me Oregon to win this one. However, I think Indiana – I don't know what the spread is. I believe it's 2.5.
7.5.
Is it? Is it that much?
That's
well, give me Indiana to cover, but I do think Oregon wins the game. I'll pick Oregon money line. How about that?
How many weeks are we into this? You don't know the rules? God.
All right. Well, then, speaking of rules, Dylan, we're going to start with our locks of the week. Dylan, would you like to start us off?
What's the one again?
You figure it out, buddy.
All right. Well, I've been kicking your asses in this department.
Yeah, you have.
I've been dominating. And I'm going to go with the team that, again, I have had the most stock in to be the non-Power 4 representative. Give me UNLV. Give me Dan Mullen. It pains me to go up against the Air Force here. Shout out my dad, who was in the Air Force. Didn't go to the college, though. But he was out there with the planes and all the stuff that they do, apparently. But give me UNLV. I'm going to roll the dice here. Get it? They're in Vegas. And I'll be here all week, guys.
Justin?
Yeah. So before I make my pick, I want to make a PSA, and I told Josh and Thomas this before we got on, before Dylan got on. If you ever think about boycotting a college football game because you think that's going to make change in your program, you might be one of the stupidest humans alive. There is no reason to boycott a college football game. First of all, you only get 7 home games a year. If you're a student, you only get 28 home games in your time at your university. And if you take pride in it, you'll show up each and every day, no matter how bad that team performed the week before or the 2 weeks in a row. And I say this for a reason, because my lock is going to be Penn State. If you want to make a statement as a Penn State fan, don't boycott, because what that does is set your university back. When a 5-star recruit's sitting there and watching no one in attendance, you go there, you be loud. You root for the guys that have put their heart out there, not James Franklin. You can boo him all you want, but you don't boycott a football game, specifically a college football game. Why do I have Penn State minus 21.5 here? Because it is classic James Franklin to go out and cover after 2 pathetic performances in a row. There is no better way to get that 1-0 mentality back than torching Northwestern and beating them by 4 scores and 7 years. This is just the perfect opportunity for Franklin and company to rebound.
We're changing the rules for just for Justin this week. If Penn State does not cover, he is going to lose a point. That's what we're doing.
Yes.
You can't pick a minus 21.5 favorite and take them to win.
Yeah, BS. I'm doing it anyway. Because none of you would have picked it. None of you are bold. You all think James is going to probably lose this.
No, we're not bold. We're the ones saying it's a 21.5 line. And
that's against the rules.
If they don't cover Justin,
mentality of Justin Chavalella.
17-16 win in the round.
If they don't cover Justin, you're losing a point. I don't know what to tell you.
Fine.
That's how
it should be. That's how it should have been the whole time. If your lock didn't cover, that was the rule I thought we were running with anyway. So we'll run
next week then. We'll run next week. Josh, who's your lock?
Quick and easy. Tennessee. They're playing a coachless Arkansas team that Dylan called not really a Power 4 team earlier.
Teams without coaches have nothing to lose, and those are the worst teams to play against.
Those teams also were at home. This game's not at home for Arkansas. They're not winning this one at all. Not in Neyland.
Wow. All right. Well, I am going to take I have a couple that I like. You know what? Dylan started it, and I know they got a big win over Penn State. But give me Michigan State minus 7.5 against UCLA.
Put it up. Roll the clip. Roll the clip.
Yeah, right. I knew it was going to come out when I took it. Give me the Spartans. UCLA, I don't think is as good as to beat Penn State. So give me Michigan State. I like that line, and we will go to our long shots.
Photoshopping.
Yeah, we do. Who would like to start the long shots?
Yeah, I'll make it nice and easy.
Right.
We already made this pick.
Thomas off the screen.
You click the picture again.
There we go.
No.
Whoa.
Look, I'm gonna make this quick and easy. I don't usually like to double dip here because if I get it wrong once, I get it wrong twice. But I have South Carolina beating LSU, so give me South Carolina plus 10 on the road at LSU. I think that's money. Even if they don't win, that South Carolina is going to cover this game. Regardless, South Carolina. I'm going to get my point back that I lose from Penn State here with South Carolina.
If they win, yeah.
I was kind of rooting for him to go completely double dip the opposite way.
Northwestern. I thought about
Northwestern.
Fuck it, I'm gonna keep the point one way or the other. I'm gonna go with Temple. Speaking of Pennsylvania schools, I'm gonna go with Temple this week. I think they're at home against Navy. I guess I'm just anti-armed forces.
What is happening with you?
That's terrible.
I love the military, guys. But not this week, I guess.
Josh, who's your long shot?
I've got Maryland over Nebraska. I don't know. For some reason, I still like this Maryland team. I think blowing a 17-point lead sucks. But I'm never going to pick on the side of a Patrick Mahomes impersonator unless he's playing Michigan, because I definitely did that 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to go with Maryland. I'll keep it in the Big Ten this week. Also, because I don't really want to pick USF over North Texas. I want to bring it up, but
yeah. All right, boys. I like this long shot that I got. I hit a parlay this weekend.
Northwestern.
I hit a parlay this weekend where I bet against this team, and it worked out in my favor. But Sam Houston State has not got a win this year, but they are at home against Jacksonville State plus 9.5. So I said, screw it. Sam Houston State got me some money this week. Sam Houston State will get me an extra point in this week's long shot. So give me Sam Houston State to beat Jacksonville
Texas's
State.
Best win of the season right there.
Yeah, it is. Damn straight. But that will wrap up our episode here on Locks and Long Shots. This is going to be a fun week. I think the pack starts to separate with our point totals and everything. And we are going to get to the midway point of the season after this week and heading into next week. So stay tuned for another episode of Locks and Long Shots next week when we break down everything college football. But for now, we will see you a little bit later, and enjoy your week of college football.